Hello, I'm Kyle. I'm the technical content developer at Maple Systems. Welcome to the Maple Systems video training series. In this video, I'll be going over how to program the different counter instructions in MapleLogic and simulating each counter online connected to a PLC ES1616P Maple Modular PLC. Please keep in mind that you can also use any of the three Maple Micro PLCs. There are four kinds of counters in MapleLogic: an up counter, a down counter, an up-down counter, and a retentive up counter. So before I get started, a PLC counter is an internal PLC instruction that can be used to count the input or output signals in the PLC program. So first thing you want to do here is create a program. So to do that, right click on Program, New Program, and as you can see, I already have my program created here. But to create your program, you would type in the program name and then your ID number, and then choose Scan Program, and then hit OK, and it creates that program. So you can see here that I have all four counter instructions created in my program, and I'll go over each one, and I will go online and we'll be able to simulate them with an actual PLC. And for all my counter instruction on and off buttons, I'm using X bits. So in my variable window here, you can see I'm using X01, X03, X05, and X08 for my on and off buttons to initialize my counters. And then I also have some reset buttons for each instruction. So I'm using X02, X04, X07, and X09 for my reset buttons. So for the actual counter bit, I'm using the C register. C stands for counter. So for any counter you use in MapleLogic, you use the C register. So for up counter, I'm using C10. For down counter, I'm using C20. For up down count, I'm using C30. And then for the up counter retentive, I'm using C40. And lastly, for the counter outputs, I'm using Y registers. So Y01 is the up counter, Y02 is the down counter, Y03 is the up down, and Y04 is the up counter retentive. So these are all my variables here that I have defined over in my variable editor. All these variable names show up in my logic. So for each counter instruction, they all start off with an enable button or disable button. So that's where the X bits come in play. They all connect to an application instruction, which is the counter instruction. So that's using the application instruction here, F10. And if you click on this, for the up counter, it starts out with CTU, which stands for up counter. And then that register, C10, which is the up count bit. And this digit right here is the preset value. So when you enable the CTU button here, the X bit, it will increment by 1. So when it reaches that preset value of 3, it will turn on this open contact here as well as the up counter output. Keep in mind that even if an up counter gets the preset value of 3, it will continue the count up past that preset value. So in order to stop the count, you will need to enable the reset button, and then it will go back to 0. This is the same case for the up down counter, but it's different for the up counter retentive because once it hits the preset value for the up counter retentive, it will automatically reset to 0. Now each instruction is a little different, but this is how the up instruction works. And of course there's also an open contact for the reset button here. So if you enable the reset button, it will reset the up counter back to 0 and turn off the up count bit and the output coil. And so for the down counter, it's very similar. So again, here's the enable button. Here's the instruction. So it's going to be CTD and then C20 and a preset value of 3. Instead, in this case, it's going to down count from 3 down to 0. And when it hits 0, it's going to turn on the C20 bit here and the Y02 output here. And this reset button will reset it back to the preset value of 3 because it's a down count to 0. So it's going to reset it back to the preset value of 3. And then for the up-down counter, similar like the other two. So you have an up counter enable on and off here, and a down counter enable on and off. So this counts up by 1, this counts down by 1. And then here is the instruction. So it's going to be CTUD, and then C30 is that up down count bit, and then 3 is the preset value. Same thing as the up counter. When it hits that preset value of 3, it will turn on the C30 up down count bit as well as Y03 output. And then lastly, for the up counter retentive, it's going to start with X08, which is the enable on and off button. And then the application instruction here for the counter is CTR, and then C40 is the CTR count. 3 is the preset value. In this case, it's going to count up, and when it gets to that preset value of 3, it's going to automatically reset to 0. So when it hits 3, you'll see 0 here. So that is the main overview of these counters. I wanted to show you a simulation of each counter when I go online. So to do that, we'll just go online, link plus download plus monitor, hit yes. Now it's transmitting. So now I am online, and you can tell because we have the indication here that PLC is okay and we are in run mode. Now, in order for me to turn on these X bits to initiate the counters, I will need to enable the forced IO. So in order to do that, I'm going to click here and forced input X. We want to enable that and hit download. So now I can turn on these X bits. And so for the up counter, the first one we'll do is turn on X01. The cumulative value is at 1. Turn it off. It keeps that value. Turn it on, 2, and now when it hits 3, it will turn on the up count bit and the output bit. And it does. And now we'll hit the reset button, and it'll reset it back to 0 and turn those bits off. For the down counter, we'll need to turn off this reset button and enable X03. There's 2, turn it off, it retains that value, turn it on, turn it off, and then turn it on and reset to 0. It also turned on down count bit and the output. And so when I hit the reset button, it will reset back to that preset value of 3 and turn off this bit and the output. For the up down counter, so to simulate that, turn it off, it retains the value, turn on again, goes up to 2. Now if we do the down count, it will decrement by 1, turn it off, turn this off, it still retains that value of 1. Turn the up counter on, and then up counter one more time, hits that preset value of 3, and it turns on the up down count bit, and the up down output is turned on as well. If we hit the reset button, it will reset the cumulative value back to 0. And lastly, the up counter retentive, only if the cumulative value reaches the preset value, which is 3 in this case, the counter will be set and the accumulated value is cleared. It goes up to 1, and if we were to disable, it keeps that accumulated value, 2, and a reset to 0 when it hit the preset value and it turned on C40 and the output, which is Y04. The reset button will only turn off C40 and Y04. So this covers all the counters in MapleLogic. This is all I'll be covering today. To get more information, please visit the How to Program Counters tutorial page on the Maple Systems website. I hope you enjoyed this video, and thank you for watching.